Hey guys and gals, Shane Stevenson here in snowy Buffalo, New York. Snowy and cold Buffalo, New York. It's only 11 degrees here today. So I'm a little bundled up in my office. For today's video, I thought this would be an interesting idea to kind of show the relationship between the USS John F Kennedy and the USS Little Rock when they were both in service. And I was looking through some family grams yesterday from 1969, and those are letters from the commanding officer to family stateside about what a ship is doing and how the crew is faring and things like that. So I was cataloging some of those items. Got a very nice collection this back in 2024. Of maybe not exhaustive, but about a 3-year period of family grams. And it mentioned the John F. Kennedy, and then all of a sudden I said, hey, John F. Kennedy is currently on the move to Texas to be broken up. And subsequently, a new nuclear, not attack, traditional or conventional, but a nuclear aircraft carrier should be ready soon. So this is not an exhaustive list. I have a PowerPoint, but it's not an exhaustive list. But it's some of the major things that they did side by side together. So again, I do have a PowerPoint. Let's check it out. All right, USS John F. Kennedy and USS Little Rock. All right. So here's a fabulous photograph that you can find online. Carolyn Kennedy christening the John F. Kennedy on 7 September 1967. I think if you can see, obviously, it's pretty clear, Jackie's face. Carolyn didn't hit the bottle hard enough the first time. So it's potentially one of the unlucky ships that she hit the bottle against the hull, didn't break. This must be that photograph, maybe right in between. And then I believe on the second attempt, she was able to secure it. So she also christened the new one under construction. And there's video of that, and I think she whacked that bottle pretty hard. So she must have had that in her memory of doing that and seeing her mother's face. Anyway, that's a very cute photograph. She was decommissioned 1st of August 2007 in Mayport, Florida, and then hauled to Philadelphia, where she's pretty much been ever since. And now, she's heading down to Brownsville, Texas, to be broken up at the International Shipbreaking Corporation Limited in Brownsville, Texas, where they recently did the Kitty Hawk, which was a very similar class, should have been the same class, or at least that was the original plan. So carrying on here. So for the ship's characteristic board, this was part of Project 127 for attack aircraft carriers. You can see Project 127 itself was the USS Kitty Hawk CV 63. All right, and there were meant to be 4. These 4 in the Kitty Hawk class. And actually, by the time they were constructing the John Kennedy, they realized there were enough modifications, so they gave it its own single ship class. So 127A is the Constellation, 127B was the America, and 127C was the Kennedy. You can see, as I just mentioned, there are some drastic differences. The smokestack configuration was different. The flight deck had a different offset angle to it than the 3 others. And it was 17 feet shorter. So they shifted it out of the Kitty Hawk class and, again, just gave it its own class. There's records with the USS Little Rock being alongside the Constellation and the America. So it's not surprising also with the John F. Kennedy. And again, this isn't an exhaustive list at all. I've used different sources like the Familygrams, like the USS Little Rock Association website. But of course, they're probably steaming alongside each other at various times more than what I list here. So USS Little Rock was in service for 7.5, 8 years, even before they met for the first time, right? 1960 for the USS Little Rock, 1967. Then she's got her sea trials. And so there's a wide gap in the 16 years of the USS Little Rock where John F. Kennedy isn't even in commission. So in July 1969, they rendezvoused together for joint missile and training exercises. Right. We also did this with the Saratoga quite a bit. We would steam up alongside. They would monitor our missile launches for the Talos missile. We would watch, not we, but the USS Little Rock command and crew would then partake in watching the aircraft launch and get resecured on board the flight deck, and just kind of being that second pair of eyes, working in conjunction. In October 1969, the USS Little Rock helo attended to a downed F-4 Phantom as part of NATO's Deep Furrow exercises. The naval aviator, the pilot, was not recovered. The naval flight officer was recovered. And the helo that was attached to Little Rock spent about 2 hours looking for the pilot. Now, what I mean there is, it's a two-seat in tandem. So the front seat had the pilot, the rear seat had the flight officer. And the CEO of the Kennedy says, "We wish to convey our gratitude and sincere well done to the men of the helo." We don't have a photo of that, but here is the USS Little Rock rendering aid to the USS Liberty. And you can see in the upper left photo on the, that's the bow of the ship. Sorry, it's smaller on my screen. You see the helo coming in to aid the USS Liberty. And then there's a nice shot of a helo on the flight deck our helo deck of the USS Little Rock. The three individuals that were in the helo that were commended were Lieutenant E.G. Moninger from Short Hills, New Jersey. And then there was Lieutenant J.G. R.J. Hagerton from Kingsville, Texas, and Aviation Electrician's Mate Second Class Wayne Cease from Bismarck, North Dakota. So I love that, and that's something about the military that would be very unique. You have all of these people from very disparate places of the country, New Jersey, North Dakota, Texas, all working together to try and find the pilot. In November 1969, they ported with Kennedy and USS Seawolf SSN 575 in Athens, Greece. So there was some liberty going on. December 71, they went transatlantic with the Kennedy, USS Harry E. Yarnell, DLG-17, and Comdesron 2, which was made up of the USS Barney, DD-711, USS Owens, DD-827, and USS Leary, DD-879. And no doubt, if you don't have a supply ship or an auxiliary ship available, a lot of times fuel is taken from aircraft carriers into smaller ships. So no doubt they probably did an underway replenishment with the Kennedy during this time. Then they're together in September of 72 with NATO exercises Strong Express, right? This was a large one that I'll get into in a little bit, but it was the USS John F. Kennedy, the USS Intrepid, and the HMS Royal Ark pennant number R09. So Strong Express was the largest NATO exercise ever up until that point. 11 NATO countries participated. It was off of northern Norway and then moving into the Arctic Circle. So there's one of the blue noses for the USS Little Rock and all of the other ships. And as mentioned, it's the largest in history up to that time, including about 64,000 men, 300 ships, and about 700 aircraft. The Warsaw Pact countries were also doing exercises as well, and it was even a little bit larger than Strong Express. During the 1973 Arab-Israeli War, Soviet anti-carrier groups were targeting the FDR Independence and Little Rock during ceasefire negotiations. This was a tense time. U.S. Armed Forces were ordered DEFCON 3. By late October 1973, the Soviet Navy had about 95 ships in the Mediterranean. The U.S. Navy had 60 ships, and the John F. Kennedy shortly joined after the conflict began. This is also kind of known as a one salvo battle because the Russians were threatening that if they were to give the order to fire, every missile would be fired at the same time. So it's kind of known as like the Battle of the First Salvo. So here's the two vessels side by side, not in one photograph, of course, but you can see there nice shots. I tried to get similar shots for both of them. The one on the left is in our collections. The one on the right was an open source photograph. And, you know, here she was today getting ready to move down to Brownsville, Texas, and to be broken up. But for the John F. Kennedy fans, Irish Catholic, very soon to be completed is CVN 79. Now a nuclear, not just a conventional attack aircraft carrier, but CVN nuclear to be completed in, again, 2025. So hopefully sometime this year. So that name will carry on, you know, well into the future. Well, again, wasn't a full exhaustive list. That might be an hour long. But I wanted to pull out some of the highlights that I've found in the Familygrams and, you know, using the USS Little Rock Association website. If there's any information in cruise books, I looked through. So it's always sad when a ship like that gets all of the attention because it's being broken up. But no one in the museum ship fleet could take an aircraft carrier today. Just the resources probably are not there. We saw what happened with the USS Halliburton. And if you don't have municipal or county backing, that makes it extremely difficult because of their rules and regulations. And if you subscribe to U.S. Naval Institute Press and their proceedings in their January 2025 magazine, they did have an article about the U.S. Navy's almost heavy-handedness towards museum ships and how they make it almost impossible for anyone to get a museum ship today. Thank you for your continued support. Appreciate it. You know, Destination Dry Dock is beginning to ramp up again. And so please be on the lookout for those videos. And of course, we'll be bringing you a lot of information throughout the year. Please leave comments, questions. If you served aboard Little Rock or USS John F. Kennedy and you want to leave a story down in the comments, either steaming on their own or with the other vessel, that would be pretty cool too. I'd love to hear those stories. And so therefore, in 10 years, when I bring this video again, I'll have more stories. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And again, look forward to seeing you again soon.